Hello, everyone. How are you? Happy New Year to all of our Vegan Travel Gal watchers and listeners and so on. And I'm hoping you guys had a good holiday and a good New Year. And I hope Wendy and Caitlin, you had a good time last year or last holiday. Yeah, exciting things. So, there is this thing called Veganuary that started how many years ago?
I think it's 4 years ago.
4 years ago to get people motivated on eating healthier and becoming more aware of veganism. And it's like a 30-day challenge. And I will try and find the link for it somewhere so I can post it up. That was one thing I forgot to do.
I think it's veganuary.com. I'll type it in for you.
Okay, veganuary.com. So you can learn more about it. And oh, great. I'll put that up there right now, actually. And we're going to talk about how to travel as a first time, because some of you guys are first time. I hope that link works. Some of you are first time vegans traveling as vegans. I'm actually going to post it on the comment section here too, so you'll have it there permanently. And I know it sounds really scary, but it's a lot easier than what it used to be. And I think I'm the oldest one, so maybe I can start and then we can take it from there. About traveling as a vegan in the 80s was like, oh, I don't know if I've told you guys this story. I think I've told you two the story going to Germany, which is now like a mecca of veganism. All they were was sauerkraut and meat and potatoes, and that was it. And my mother went with me, and I tell you, she was not vegetarian or even vegan, but she was very patient with me because we went to Chinese restaurants a lot. And that's how we traveled as a vegan. That's how I traveled as a vegan. And I got a lot of tofu and veggies and rice, and that was my way of getting around Europe, at least. And then, it just it's changed throughout the years a lot. But I would have to handwrite letters to hotels ahead of time to figure out how to, if they could help me out, if they could find restaurants. And it was, and then I'd have to find health food stores, and I was my own happy cow, basically. That would take months to get, or we could fax. That would be the only thing, but it would cost a lot of money to fax. So that was my way of traveling as a vegan for the first time, and it was not fun. And I'm trying to remember my first travel agent trip. I think my first one was to Bermuda, so it wasn't that bad. And it was Club Med. And Club Med was actually pretty good with with vegetarians, because you did a lot of buffet. But my first place, they would do these tourism, like the Alaskan Tourism Board did a trip. And that was my first trip to an area. And it was Alaska. And that was like a nightmare. That was just, it was hard. It was difficult, but I did it. I did my research ahead of time. I spent, I think, $5 for a glass of orange juice and $5 for a bagel. It was expensive, but I was able to do it, and I didn't starve to death. And then, for my honeymoon in South Africa was a nightmare as well, but I was, anyway, I won't go into further detail because I know we got a lot of to talk about. So, Wendy, I think you're the second oldest. I don't mean that in that way. The second longest vegan in this. Or are you, Caitlin? How long have you been traveling, Caitlin, as a vegan?
I'll be vegan 10 years in April.
Okay. So, Wendy, have you been vegan?
Yeah, I'm probably the second oldest by age, but that's pretty irrelevant to this conversation.
Yeah.
And maybe in terms of travel, I've been traveling nonstop basically since 1999, but I didn't become vegan until 2014. So it's only been a little over 3 years.
Oh,
so I'm a pretty new vegan, even though it's a huge part of my life, and now it seems so weird to imagine that I was ever not vegan. But I did come to it much later in the game compared to you, Donna, and also Caitlin as well. So yeah, Caitlin, if you want to go next.
Yeah, Caitlin, tell us your horror stories.
I have been pretty lucky. I haven't had too many horror stories. Most of the places I've been, I've always found a vegan option, even if it's a Chinese restaurant like you. I've been to Chinese restaurants in Paris back before Paris was very vegan friendly. Probably the worst of my travel experiences as a vegan have been on planes. I've had my vegan meals forgotten more than once on the plane.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I've learned the hard way to always have a sandwich or something in my bag. Because it's not, I mean, you can request a vegan meal, but that doesn't mean it will actually make it on the plane with you.
That's right, right. And there's certain things that you can't bring on the plane with you anyway. And then there's the fact that they don't even feed you on the planes anymore. So.
Yeah, I like to bring lots and lots of bars with me, like Lara bars or something like that. Just stuff as many of those in my bag as I can.
Yeah.
But my favorite story about vegan travel is actually from a friend of mine who's been vegan for, I think, 30 years. And back in the early 90s, before Happy Cow existed, she used to go on a vegan chat room. I'm not sure if I've told you guys this story or not. She used to go on this chat room and chat to vegans all around the world. And this guy came on and said he was planning a trip to Paris. And he was from Texas, and he said there aren't any books or resources here about vegan Paris. And my friend said to him, "Oh, I have a copy of a vegetarian guide to Paris, but I don't know how to get it to you." And eventually she ended up faxing him the entire book page by page.
It must have cost her $20 to do that, right?
But he was so appreciative that they ended up becoming friends, and he actually comes to London every year now to visit her, and he and his wife have become lifelong friends with her.
You know, there was a guy, and he's still around, and we need to have him on our show one day, Alex Bork, who actually...
Yeah, it might have been his vegetarian Paris guide, I'm thinking.
It was. And he used to say in all his talks, because I would listen to him, or actually I went to see him in Canada when he was in Canada. He's in the UK, and he said... The French border people won't let you in if you say you're vegan. They'll turn you around. Changed a lot. It's changed a lot, right? So anyway, yes. So I didn't mean to get you off track there.
Yeah, Paris has changed a lot, even since I went vegan. Because I remember the first time I went to Paris as a vegan, which is, I guess, almost 10 years ago now. There were only a couple of vegetarian restaurants, and my friends and I ended up having Chinese food for dinner. And then I tried one of the veggie restaurants, but it wasn't very good food. And even then, most of their stuff wasn't vegan. A lot of it had cheese, even in the vegetarian restaurant. But it's changed a lot in the last few years. So the last few times I've been to Paris, there are vegan burger places, vegan patisseries, a vegan brasserie. There's a really, really good vegan restaurant called Gentle Gourmet in Paris. So,
by the way, she is going to be one of our guests in April. I talked to her, so I'm really excited about that. Yeah. Yeah, Paris has changed. It started to change last time I was there, which was like 7 or 8 years ago. But but it's definitely changed a lot now. So, anyway, Wendy.
Yes. Well, first of all, I just want to say kudos to you, Donna, especially, and Caitlin as well, for, struggling through the hard times 18 years ago and 10 years ago. But, I think you used a really good strategy, Donna and Caitlin, by going to Chinese restaurants. And that is something that I recommend to people all the time. And it's something that I do as well when I'm in places that aren't vegan friendly, because there are still some out there where, if you go into a typical restaurant of that particular destination, you're not going to find very many vegan options. But what you can do instead is, go to places that serve different kinds of ethnic cuisines that are actually very vegan friendly. And as it turns out, almost all of the most popular cuisines in the world are very vegan friendly, even though people might not realize that. So Chinese is a great example, Italian, Indian, Thai, Ethiopian, Vietnamese. If you find a restaurant serving any of those cuisines, then you've got it made. Like, guaranteed they're going to have something for you, and probably something really delicious. So I think that was a great strategy, Donna. And I just would like to point out that of sauerkraut and meat and potatoes, 2 of those 3 are vegan. So, there's always something there. And we've started out with horror stories just to show how far the movement has come and how much better it is now than it used to be. But I don't want to scare people off with all these stories, because there is always something out there. And I know that I'm speaking as a much newer vegan, and so I came to the movement when it was already much stronger and we already had a lot of these options popping up. But I've been to really remote places as a vegan where they've never heard of veganism. I spent 3 months traveling around Southern Africa this past year. And most of the places that I went to, I couldn't find a single vegan. I tried to make contact with vegans before I went. And I did in some cases, particularly in South Africa and Cape Town especially. But other countries like Malawi, Mozambique, it just hasn't made it there yet. And, they have probably lots of things on their mind and can't really, most people are struggling and living in poverty, and veganism is just the last thing that they're thinking about, if they have even heard of the concept before. And even then, I managed to find plenty of vegan food. I never struggled. I never went hungry. So, I just want to let people know that even if you're in a place that is still very unvegan friendly, you might say, there's always going to be vegan food. You're always going to find something. So I think what we're going to do today is to try to give you a few tips and tricks to help make that a bit easier, so that you'll have a stronger footing going in. So one of my biggest tips would be to do some research beforehand.
Yes.
And we've mentioned Happy Cow several times, and I saw that you put the link up, Donna, to happycow.com, or also happycow.net is the one I use, but I think they all go to the same place.
App as well.
Sorry? Oh, the app.
An app as well.
Yeah. So, I'll just quickly explain a little bit about what Happy Cow is, maybe, and how people can use it when they're traveling. It is, the website is completely free, so you can always do research on the website if you want, or you can download the app, which I think costs $4 or $5. I'm not exactly sure, but
one time $4 or $5, and that's it, and it just updates all the time. So it's
right.
I use it all the time, even in my own area. I use it here.
Right. Yeah, I use it in my own city where I live as well, and then also where I'm traveling. So it's a crowdsourced directory of vegan restaurants, vegetarian restaurants, and also just restaurants that have good vegan options all over the world. And so by crowdsourced, I mean that anyone can update it and add a new listing to it, and also add their review of the current listings. And so now it's getting really strong. I mean, it's been a great resource for many years, but with the vegan movement growing so much and so many more vegans out there traveling, you have lots more people adding to it. And now, you've just got thousands and thousands of reviews and listings of different restaurants. And so it's really easy, especially on the app. You can just choose the find options nearby me. And then it'll show you everything that's close to you. Even if you have no idea where you are in a strange city, it'll show you where all the closest veg restaurants and veg-friendly restaurants are. So that's the first thing I do, actually, in terms of research when I'm planning a trip, is I put my destination into Happy Cow to see what's there. And in the case of, if you're going somewhere like Berlin or Barcelona, then you're going to have hundreds and hundreds of listings, and There are so many vegan places to choose from there. If you're going somewhere like Mozambique, then you're not going to have as many. But, don't freak out if you don't see any listings on Happy Cow, because there are other ways that you can do research into the local traditional cuisine and things like that. But Happy Cow is a really great starting point.
Yeah, it's a great starting point. Oh, are you going to get back?
I'm hearing a lot of echo.
Okay, let me try putting in my headphones. Sometimes that works better.
Okay.
I'm hearing echo from Donna, not from you, Wendy.
Yeah. Are you still hearing the feedback, Caitlin?
I'm not hearing feedback as much, but still a little bit of an echo.
But I don't know what that was all about. Oh, okay. I think we're good. So you have a book out, Wendy. Do you want to talk about that for a moment?
I do. I have a couple of books out, but there's one that I think is really, well, they're both relevant to what we're talking about, but one of them is free. And so that's what I'll mention first, because I want to give you all the free resources that you can, to get you started if you're a new vegan or a new vegan traveler. So that one is called 9 Steps for Easy Vegan Travel. And it's just a short little ebook that you can download for free. And that is the link that Donna has just put up, which is actually on the Happy Cow website, because it's a collaboration that I did with Happy Cow. So you can download it from their website absolutely for free. And that gives all my top tips for how to plan ahead of time so that your travels run really smoothly, and then also what to do while you're there, while you're in your destination as well, to make sure that your vegan travels are fun and easy. And speaking from my personal experience, I thought that being vegan was going to ruin travel, and that's what actually held me back for a long time from taking the leap and going completely vegan, because travel was such a huge part of my life and such a big passion, and I didn't know if I could give that up, or I didn't know how it was going to work to try to combine those two, veganism and travel. But my personal experience is that not only did it not ruin my travels, but it actually made them even better. And I honestly enjoy travel even more now than I did before I was vegan. And I've heard, Caitlin, I'm pretty sure I've heard you say something along the same lines. Would you say that that's been your experience?
Yeah, definitely. I think I have probably said that before. I think I wrote about it in one of my books as well. That I find it so much better to travel as a vegan, because I end up trying things that I wouldn't have tried otherwise. I'll go to restaurants that I wouldn't have found if I didn't know about Happy Cow. Often maybe they're in a part of town that I wouldn't have visited, like near university or something. So I end up discovering interesting things, and also connecting with people, because it's really amazing when you meet vegans in other places and you instantly have this connection with them.
Yeah, that's really
the
cool.
other thing is, and whenever I go to Ireland, I love going. I stay at B&Bs. I don't like to do the Airbnbs, and I don't even like to do the hotels there. I like to do the B&Bs. And even when I do hotels, the same thing happens when you speak to the chef. I find that the B&B people, because they love to do breakfast there, they love to do something different, and it's great to educate them and tell them about why you're vegan, if it is an ethical thing, and it's a challenge for them. It gets them to do something different. And I think that they don't, while they enjoy cooking, I think they also enjoy doing something different, especially chefs in restaurants. That's what I have found. They love the idea. In fact, this summer when we went for our 20th anniversary on Green Earth Travel, we went to a non-vegetarian place, but it was a very upscale place and it was very eco-friendly. And he loved the idea of just doing like a vegan dinner for 10 people. He became very creative, and it was great food, so you just have to ask. One of the things that before books, these books came out and the internet came out, I would actually ask the concierge, when I get to the hotel, and they always would come up with something. Well, there's this great restaurant, it's very healthy. I'm sure we can get something vegan. Or there's a health food store down the street. So, those kind of things help as well, and it makes it a lot easier for you.
Yeah, and that's one of the steps that I talk about in the free book is connecting with local vegans, and there are a few different ways that you can do that before you even go on your trip, especially now that we have the internet, which connects us all together, which is really awesome. So Facebook groups is something that I use a lot. So you can look for Facebook groups that are for, say, if you're going to Germany, you would look for, a German vegan Facebook group, or maybe a Berlin or a Munich vegan Facebook group. And then you could join that group and then post in there and meet vegans and, who actually live there. And then they can give you all their local insider tips about where to eat and, where to find the products that you might be looking for in the grocery store. They might even offer to meet up with you and have a coffee with you or have a meal with you, take you out to their favorite, restaurant in town, and you can make some great connections and long-lasting friendships that way. So Facebook groups is one that I use a lot. I don't know if you ladies have some other suggestions for how to connect with people before.
Well, I just put in the group, the vegan travel group. Now you do have to join, and they don't just let anybody join. They don't let you just post about anything, but it's a great way for people to connect. So
I'd say on Instagram as well, for people who are active on Instagram, use the hashtag for the place that you're going, or search by the hashtag, and you can find people who are there who can give you tips and, again, might want to meet up with you and point you to different resources.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I do that as well when I'm posting on Instagram when I'm traveling. If I'm wherever I am, when I was in South Africa, I would tag my post from there with Vegan South Africa, so that people who are, even though they might be searching months later when I'm not there anymore, they can still see the post and they can see where I ate and what it was that I ordered and whether it looks like something that they would want to order. So yeah, that's a very good resource as well. Hashtags are really handy.
The one thing I would suggest is, though, before you go to these restaurants, call or email them and make sure that they're open. Because sometimes these things are, they've been on there for a while and they've closed down. I mean, restaurants close down at a drop of a hat. So you just want to make sure that it's still open.
Yeah. I've had experiences of places moving as well. So when I was in, I can't remember where it was, Latvia, I think. We went to this restaurant and we got there and it was gone.
There's a restaurant in Latvia?
There's vegan restaurants in Latvia. But yeah, even Google hadn't updated the address. So we called them and they said that they'd moved, but Google hadn't updated it. Happy Cow hadn't updated it.
Yeah. So it's always good to call ahead of time and make sure that, so you don't go traveling all over the place and for not. Another thing I was thinking this morning before we got on, and I was talking to you gals about it, was a great way to really start and to connect is to do it in person. And anytime there's like a vegan festival, I would go there. I mean, if you could go to a vegan, like I did a few this summer. I went to the one in Richmond, Virginia, which I never did. I went to Charlottesville, which I hadn't done in like 20 years. I hope to do the one in Boston one day. I do the DC one. I mean, there are vegan festivals literally in every state now. And there is one I'll talk about real quickly because I want to go there and I would love to get some people to go with me. There's one in Puerto Rico right now. Now, people are saying, why in Puerto Rico? Puerto Rico was devastated. I say this, even if there's not electricity there, which I can't imagine they're not having a festival in this area and not having electricity. We need to support these countries that were devastated this year, and that are trying to get up and running. And while Puerto Rico is not a country, it's part of the U.S. They really depend on tourism as their, one of their number one, or if not the number one income for a while. So my plan is to get there and to bring people down there. It's not going to be big, but it's going to be small and it's going to be nice. And maybe, yes, we can actually help people while they're down there. But there is, going back to what I was saying, there's literally has to be in every state and every country some kind of vegan festival at some point now. I mean, it's grown that much.
Yeah. And for our UK watchers, there are loads that are in the UK as well. And I'm actually going to be speaking at some of them this spring, which I am so looking forward to. I'm really excited about meeting all of these vegans in England, and I'll also be in Glasgow and Scotland. So yeah, I'm going to be at 5 different ones this March and April. So you can check out the Nomadic Vegan Facebook page. I have all of the events listed there. But yeah, I agree. Veg festivals are so much fun, and you get to connect with people. You get to taste all kinds of amazing food, and a lot of times there are speakers, talks, and presentations, and cooking demos, and sometimes bands and things like that. So it's yeah, it's a really fun thing to do, and a lot of non-vegans enjoy them as well. So bring your non-vegan friends, and introduce them to everything that the movement has to offer.
And it didn't used to be that way. It used to be that they would have, now there is one, and it's one of the originals. It's the Veggie Fest in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. I don't know if you girls have, women, I don't want to say girls, women have heard of this before, but it's been going around since the 80s, I believe. I was going there in the early 90s. And to me, it was like going to camp. It's like a full weekend, or actually they consider it a week and then a weekend. So they start on a Wednesday and end on Sunday, or you can come just for like 2 nights, but it's literally like going to camp, it's like, and you become friends with all these people, and it's totally a lot of fun. I really miss going there, and one of these days I want to go back. But it is smaller, so that's the only thing, you're not, you can go to the town of Johnstown where there's not a lot to see, but it's a way to really connect with vegans, and some of them very well-known vegans as well, and they do talks, and the dinners are fabulous. And yeah, so, but I also like the festivals, where you're actually outside in a main city, in a main town, and you're able to do some sightseeing as well.
Mm-hmm. And you can structure a whole trip around that as well if you want. Check out the list of festivals that are happening around you, or within traveling distance from you, and say, hey, I see there's a festival in this city on this weekend, so let's plan a trip around it. And then that can be a great way to discover new places that you might not have visited otherwise.
I actually think that there is a website, and I'm going to look at it right now to make sure that it's updated, because I've been talking to these people. There's this vegan.com/festivals. I don't know if this is updated. I'm going to put this link on here. So it's got the US and it's got international as well. So let me put that on here. So you guys,
I've seen a list in one of the vegan magazines. I'm not sure which one. Have you guys seen it? And I can't remember which magazine it is, but one of the magazines has a page every month. They update it with festivals.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's so many vegan magazines now. I can't remember which one it is.
So I want to thank everyone for. I'm not ending this. I'm just thanking people for joining us and watching. And I really do ask, and I should have said this in the beginning, to please share this out to everyone, especially all your new friends, because they need the help. They need the help on this, and we want to make it as easy on them as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're here for. I've just added another link as well that is specifically for UK veg festivals, and I know that one is quite comprehensive. So if you happen to be in the UK or elsewhere in Europe and you want to check out some of those festivals, I've just added a link there where you can find those.
Okay.
The other thing I was thinking about when you were talking about connecting with people is meetup.com. If anyone's not familiar with it, it's a free site you can join. You put in a keyword, your interest, like vegan, and then choose your location or your destination, and then you can see groups that are meeting in that place. So it's a really great way to meet other vegans and maybe try a new restaurant, because often there'll be vegan groups meeting at local restaurants over a meal, and they're all there to meet people. So it's a good way to connect. I'll put the link in too.
Yeah, we're putting a lot of links in. I'm actually putting all of our links in so people know where to find us. We're going to have like a ton of links here. Yeah, meetups are great. In fact, the oldest vegetarian society is the DC Vegetarian Society, which just turned 90 this year, has a meetup group. So a lot of these vegetarian societies that didn't have that have the meetup groups now, and they're great. They're a great way to connect.
Yeah, for sure.
I found them useful just finding restaurants as well. Like when I was traveling around China, I joined a couple of meetup groups, and I didn't even end up going to the meetups, but the organizer sent me lists of recommended restaurants, and it was really helpful.
Yeah. Speaking of going to China, was it as it used to be? You would think that China would be really easy. I don't know. It's probably gotten easier since I can remember, but it really was not an easy place to be vegetarian.
Well, I think people, and I mean, I had the same misconception before I went there that you could find vegan dishes easily in any restaurant like you would in a Chinese restaurant in Europe or North America. And that's not necessarily the case, because a lot of vegetable dishes in China, they add small amounts of meat to flavoring. So it can be tricky. There are a lot more vegan restaurants than there used to be. And I mean, you can obviously go into a non-vegan restaurant and explain and ask them to leave out the meat, and they're usually willing to accommodate. But obviously that can be a bit of a language barrier if you don't speak the language, which brings me nicely to this book.
Oh yeah, the Vegan Passport.
Yeah. So this is the Vegan Passport. I think you can get it on Amazon, I think, or from the Vegan Society, and I think it's around $5 or $6. And it just has translations in probably like 80 or 90 different languages explaining that you're vegan and what that means, what vegans don't eat and what vegans do eat. And if you're ever somewhere where you don't speak a language and you can't find a language in common, you can just hand it to your server and ask them to show it to the chef. And it's really useful for that. And I find it really nice just to have on me to know that I'll never go hungry.
So I had, let me see if I can find this now. I had something called Translator. And I'm trying to see I hate this now that it's got, see if I can do it this way. Can you see can you see it? Is it in the camera? Wait.
Now it is.
Yes, now it is.
So it's got the tongue, and I believe there's a free version and a paid version, and I paid for the paid version. And all right, so English to Spanish. All right, so I'm going to enter in the text here, I am vegan. And when you do that,
Soy un vegano.
Did you hear it?
Not very well.
Soy un vegano.
Let me see.
Soy un vegano, yeah.
Let's
Give me the masculine version, but
yeah, so I typed it in. God, I'm not really good with the camera thing here.
Well, what is the name of the app? Is it just Translate?
It's called Translator.
Translator. Okay. And there is also a Vegan Passport app as well, like an app version of the book that Caitlin just showed us. It used to be.
Right.
Yeah, and that's pretty new. Before they had just the little paperback, little book for many years, but they recently came out with an app, and that's what I use. I have that on my phone. So that's really handy because, you don't have to carry around an extra thing. And you can, it's easier to search, like I don't remember exactly how it works, but for countries where there's more than one language spoken there, like you can go to India to the India section of the Vegan Passport app, and then it'll have several different Indian languages. If you're not sure which of those languages your server speaks, then it can be helpful to show them several different ones. So yeah, I like the app version of the Vegan Passport as well. That and Happy Cow, I would say, are probably my top 2 app recommendations.
Right.
Oh, and my favorite part of the Vegan Passport is, Caitlin, can you show us the page that doesn't use any language at all? So it's basically just pictures. There you go. Yeah. So you have the frowny face surrounded by all the animals and their bodily secretions and all the things that we don't want in our food. And then you have the bright, smiley, happy face surrounded by all the yummy fruits and vegetables and grains and legumes and nuts and seeds.
I haven't seen that in so long. I used to sell those actually on my website, and I would take them to me with me on the veg festivals that I would go to and give them away to some people. But I actually might have an old one back here somewhere, but I don't.
I mean, this one that I was holding up, I think I got when I first went vegan. So I'm sure there's a more up-to-date version now, but it's the kind of thing that isn't going to go out of date.
No.
More languages, but
yeah.
Do they still have the ones? Okay, so they had one that was vegan, they had one that was vegetarian, lacto-ovo, and then they had like 3 different kinds. Are they just doing vegan ones now? Because
I've only ever seen the vegan one.
It's put out by the Vegan Society, so I would imagine that they only do the vegan one.
No, they had 3 different kinds. They had vegetarian, they had vegan, and they had something just like maybe people who just did eggs. So it was 3 different ones. I remember that because it was in the 90s when that first came out. Maybe the Vegan Society took it over, but that was the ones that they had at first, and there were these little cards that you just pulled out. So, I don't know. Maybe I could get some money on it on eBay, right? So do you have any, I don't know that we have any questions here. So if anybody is joining us later, please feel free to ask us questions or reach out to us personally, and we'd be happy to help you, with anything that you have questions with or concerns with, or any countries that you're going to that you're scared. But do you guys have any last minute suggestions for people?
Well, I will just put in another plug for Veganuary, since this is our special Veganuary episode for people who are new to veganism. And they do actually have some really good resources for traveling and eating out on their website as well. So they have, vegan guides to different types of food, Mexican food, Chinese food, etc. I know I read a blog post for them about vegan travel last year, so I believe that's still up there. So there are a few different things that you can check out on their website, and lots of other stuff that's not travel related, but that gives you all of the tools that you need to start out on your vegan journey. And then as far as my own personal advice, my number one thing that I really think is key to enjoying vegan travel and to enjoying life in general is the attitude that you bring to it. And just going in, I promise you that you're not going to starve and that you're going to find an abundance of vegan food. But I can say that until I'm blue in the face, but if you don't really believe it, if you go in with a negative attitude and you're expecting everything to be difficult and to just find a shortage and lack everywhere you go, then that is what you're going to experience. But if you go in looking for abundance and expecting abundance, then you're going to find it. And so much of it has to do with an abundance mindset and just bringing a positive attitude to the whole experience.
Right. Yeah, and I've always said it shouldn't really, I know it should be about the food because we all want wonderful food. Even on cruise ships, you want to have wonderful food because you see everyone else eating until they gain 10 pounds. And it should be about the place that you're going to. That's really the bottom line. I've always said that. If you're going to be worried about food, then you maybe shouldn't be traveling, because it should be about the adventure that you're going on. And with that, you can always find something to eat.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's a lot of food that just happens to be vegan, which are like apples and veggies and everything else that we eat, but the meat and dairy, right? So you just have to make it about the country that you're going. I mean, I went to South Africa like you did, Wendy, and I was there in the 90s. And yes, I lost weight, but I didn't starve to death. And I had the most incredible time of my life. And I just didn't let the food bum me out, and it wasn't really that bad. It really wasn't. Even back then, it was 1994. So things have changed a lot, and people are, recognizing that eating healthy, or most people are recognizing that eating healthy is the way to go. And, you can still even eat junk food vegan, I mean, there is that. You can find it anywhere. I mean, Oreos are vegan by proxy. So
yeah, and things have changed so much that Cape Town, I would actually say, is a vegan foodie destination. Like, there's so much amazing vegan food there now. So just to show you, how much things have changed. And that's the great thing, is that if you do want to make your travels about the food, there are lots of places where you can do that as a vegan. You can go to Berlin or Barcelona or Cape Town or Austin, Texas, and you can just have a food extravaganza and just, eat your way through the city. But if you want, I
actually have I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
Goes to New York like 3 times a year just to eat at the restaurants.
Right. Yeah.
Try to make that happen. It's just that if you're looking to do an exotic place, it should not be your focus.
Right.
It's about the adventure, and then the good food just happens to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can be vegan anywhere. So if your preferred destination happens to be a place that is not well known for its vegan food, do not let that stop you from going, because you're going to find something to eat there, guaranteed, and have an amazing time.
But I agree with you, Wendy. If people do really want to just go somewhere and eat, there are lists of the top vegan destinations, or you can look on Happy Cow and see the places that have the highest number of vegan restaurants. And somewhere like Berlin, I went there with some friends and we spent an entire weekend just eating. We had like 10 different kinds of vegan cake. It was kind of crazy. But yeah, if that's what you want, that's out there too. So
right.
Yeah. There's 17 of the best. This was on Trips to Discover. I don't know who this is, but actually, Happy Cow had in 2017 had the top vegan cities in the world. So I can post that, and you can have an idea of what they are. I mean, Berlin is number 1, Los Angeles number 2, Warsaw.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, no, I listened to an interview not too long ago with, what is his name? The guy, Ken Spector from Happy Cow. And he was saying that Warsaw actually has the fastest growing vegan movement right now, even more so than Berlin.
Wow.
Because Berlin is maybe getting a little bit saturated, like it already has so many vegan options, whereas Warsaw is just kind of starting to boom, and that's the fastest growing destination in the world.
Taipei, which was another one that surprised me, but I did hear that because
no, they're very vegan friendly. It's the most vegan friendly place I've ever been, I'd say.
Wow.
It was the only place that I never used. I mean, I used Happy Cow to find a couple of recommended restaurants, but I never used it when I was out and about. I didn't even plan my meals. Really? I just walked around and I looked for the vegetarian restaurant symbol and went in. There's a vegetarian restaurant on every block there. It has such a high concentration.
That's awesome. So there's Taipei. New York is obvious. New York is like the original vegan city. Singapore, which I just found. London was another original vegan city, although London's food didn't used to be so great, even the vegan food, and now it's really, really changed. Their palate has changed. Tel Aviv, that was one I found out last year. Portland, I'm assuming Portland, Oregon. San Francisco, and that's it. So let me put that one in there, and then I want to just take a quick look at the link where the other article came out. We're the only ones who are commenting on here, by the way.
That's all right.
I know. I mean, PETA has a Get Lost vegan-friendly travel destination. I wanted to just see who. Okay, so vegantravel.com has destinations around the world. Veg News did in 2017 the top vegan cities. Okay, so I just want to see this one called Trips to Discover, because this is not a vegan article. So they have 17 of the best destinations for vegan and vegetarian travelers. Austin, Texas, Glasgow, Scotland, sorry, my dog, Singapore, Tel Aviv. So they're pretty similar. Taipei, New York, Portland, Oregon. Yeah, they're pretty similar. They might be off the same. Okay, but Chennai, India, Chennai.
Oh, that's a surprise.
Yeah. I'll put the link on there. Chiang Mai, Thailand. London, obviously. Then San Francisco. Let's see. I'm seeing if there's Seoul, Korea.
I'm surprised with that too.
Yeah.
I had some really good vegan food when I was there, actually.
Yeah.
British Vancouver was another one. Jordan. Malaysia.
The cuisine in Jordan's probably naturally very vegan friendly, though.
Exactly. A lot of the Middle Eastern countries are. So then they have Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, Berlin, obviously, and then their last one is Mumbai, India. So, and India didn't used to be a vegan-friendly place. You know, it used to be vegetarian-friendly.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is, of course, very vegetarian friendly, but dairy products are a pretty big part of the traditional cuisine. So that was always the one thing that you did have to look out for. Like the meat, the eggs, no problem. You can avoid that without any problem at all in any restaurant in India. But yeah, they didn't really understand the concept of not eating dairy as well. But I have seen a lot about the vegan movement in India too. So I do think that it's growing there and it's becoming more well understood. And in the south of India, they don't use as much dairy as they do in the north. They tend to use coconut milk in the south rather than cow's milk. So you have a lot of really good naturally vegan dishes that are in southern Indian cuisine.
Right. And it's the same, you know, Italy is the same thing. Italy, I used to think was like a very un-vegan friendly place, maybe vegetarian friendly. And it's amazing. I mean, I had vegan gelato there. I've never had vegan gelato. You know, I never had gelato, let alone vegan gelato. And there was like, it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Yeah. And again, the cuisine of the south of Italy is probably naturally a lot more vegan friendly than the north because you have a lot of regional variations there as well. So yeah, in the south, it's very much a plant-based cuisine, even though that's not at all the Italian food that's been exported, you know, to the U.S. and to other countries. We always think about spaghetti and meatballs and lasagna and everything being smothered in cheese, but the reality in Italy is very different.
Yeah, well, the southern Italy, from what I learned, is a lot more vegan friendly. Like northern Italy, while it's vegan, you know, they have some vegan stuff. The southern Italy is more of a vegan friendly place because this is just what I was told. South was not as rich as the north, so they didn't have the luxury of eating meat and cheese, if you want to call it a luxury. And they had to be more creative. So they used a lot less cheese and a lot less meat, and they came up with some great foods there. You know?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And it's referred to in Italian as cucina povera, which just means the poor people's cuisine.
Right.
And that's still a lot of what people eat, you know, even in the restaurants. They're very simple dishes, but they're really delicious. They're made with, you know, fresh, high quality ingredients. And mostly plants, which is very cool.
So what's your favorite place?
My favorite place is Italy. My favorite country in the world is Italy. So it's a really special place to me. It's where I met my husband, and we actually met in the Roman Forum when I was a tour guide and he was there as a tourist, and then he ended up staying and becoming a tour guide as well. So we were colleagues, and then we were friends, and then we became partners in life. But yeah, Italy and Rome in particular still probably feels more like home to me than anywhere else. Although I also love Lisbon, which is my new adopted home where I've been living for the past year.
So, Caitlin, what's your favorite vegan-friendly place?
So purely in terms of food, I would say Taiwan. Like I was saying, it's just so easy to find vegetarian and vegan restaurants there. They're everywhere. You don't have to plan. And I also had one of the best meals of my life at a really upscale vegetarian restaurant called Yushangge, which was very expensive by Taiwanese standards, but I think I paid $30 for 9 courses, which is reasonable by US or UK standards.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Very
it was
reasonable.
a really nice place. It's really popular with celebrities and politicians there, apparently.
South Africa was like that too. Like we tried to spend money there one night, and I don't know, like it was for a very fine dining restaurant. Now this is going back 22 years. It was like $30 for the two of us. We're like, wow. We were expecting to spend at least $100, and it was like, because the money was so good. But I have to say, I don't know if I can pick. San Francisco has always been my kind of mecca places. Whenever I would go there, you'd have the Millennium, which is probably one of my favorite restaurants in the world of all the places I've been to. I know it's moved. I haven't been there to the new place. So San Francisco kind of stands out for me, but there is this one thing, Ireland is my home. I love Ireland. And we went years ago to an Indian restaurant, and it was some of the best Indian food. It was actually the best Indian food I've ever had in Ireland, in Cork. I can't remember the name of it, so if I find it, I'll post it on here. But there's so many places. I don't know. I used to be able to say that this was my favorite place. Now I could say, well, no, maybe this is my favorite place now. Because Kenya was great, Yeah. New York is fabulous. London is great. I didn't think London used to have great food, but now I think London has great food, and so I don't know. But San Francisco always is my go-to place. There's so many restaurants there and that's like one of the originals, for vegans. So at any rate, we're going to be closing down here now because we're almost down to the hour, even though I
just want to point out one last resource, if that's okay. As I noticed on Veganuary, if you go to their eating out section, they've got a list of vegan options in chain restaurants. I think it's primarily UK, but the Vegan Society has a US one, and I'll post the links for both. And that's really great if you're traveling around the US or the UK rather than maybe going abroad. If you're traveling around the US and you end up in a smaller town and there's nothing on Happy Cow, it's really useful to know some chain restaurants that have vegan options.
Oh, like Red Robin and all those places. Or I don't know if Red Robin's got the vegan food, but they used to have the vegan burger. Yeah, that's good to know. And we heard rumors that McDonald's, I don't know, where is it in Sweden?
Finland and Sweden, they have a McVegan now.
Yeah, so when McDonald's gets a vegan burger, they're test marketing it now, so in the future, you might.
Yeah, well, they started testing in just one small city in Finland, and that was successful enough that they just decided to expand it not only nationwide to Finland, but also throughout Sweden as well. And they're not the only ones. South Africa has a burger. South African McDonald's has a burger. It's not called the McVegan, it's called the McVeggie. But as long as you ask for it without mayonnaise, that one is totally vegan as well. And I'm thinking maybe Singapore also has one. I know there's at least one other country where the McDonald's has one. So
Subways have they have vegan Subways.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that.
The world is changing very quickly. We're going to see lots more vegan options popping up all over the place.
Before all the haters start, just because it's vegan, I know it's not necessarily healthy, but you know what? It's vegan. To me, that's most important.
Yeah. And if you don't want to eat it because it's not healthy, that's fine. More power to you. But for the people who do want to eat at McDonald's, if they're going to be choosing the McVegan instead of the Big Mac, that is a huge win in my book for the animals, for the planet, for everybody.
Right. So next month we are going to be, I think, a week early than usual, just because Valentine's is coming up. And I know that you guys, everyone wants to know about where to take their loved ones for Valentine's Day. So I don't remember the exact date, but I think, let me see here. Let me see if does anybody have it on there?
February 8th, I believe, is when we're going to be doing it.
So yeah, we'll be posting the banner soon in the next week or two. We'll be talking about where you can take your loved ones for a healthy vacation. And I have some good ideas. I know that you guys probably have some fabulous ideas. But with that, we want to wish everyone a happy new year. And we will see you next month.
Bye.
Veganuary.
Bye.
Happy Veganuary.
Happy Veganuary.
Yeah, happy Veganuary.